Hello viewers, welcome to CBN, the Canadian Bangladeshi News. You all know that upcoming 21st October is the election day of Canada. And in these regards, we are going to interview the political leaders who wants to run for 2019 elections. So I am Mahbub Osmani, as you already know about me, and today I have a very special guest with me. He is none other than Mr. Bill Blair, Honorable Minister of Border Security and Organized Crime Reduction. He is also serving as a Member of Parliament in the riding of Scarborough Southwest. Mr. Bill Blair, good to have you with us.
I'm very pleased to join you on CBN and to have the opportunity to speak to the community through you.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. Been very busy. It has been a very busy year, a very busy summer. The Prime Minister has given me some challenging responsibilities, and we've been working hard to make Canada a better and safer place for everyone. But at the same time, we work hard to serve our community here in Scarborough Southwest, and so we've been busy, but the work has been good.
Nice. As you remember that 2 years back I interviewed you.
Yes.
That time you were only the Member of Parliament, but nowadays, last year on July 18, I remember that you were appointed as the Minister for Border Security and Organized Crime Reduction. So what are the challenges you have been facing last 1 year as a minister?
One of the things the Prime Minister has asked me to do is to take on responsibility for some very difficult files. And for example, the issue of people crossing into Canada irregularly at our borders, the entire broad issue of people who are seeking asylum. We know that in many parts of the world there are people who are fleeing war and persecution, and they need and want Canada's protection. And so my job has been to manage that process, and frankly, I'm very proud of what we have achieved. We want to make sure that all of the rules are followed and people enter the country properly.
Right.
But we also need to make new investments in making sure the system worked well for people. And so we've made investments in making sure that those hearings to determine if a person is in need of our protection are done in a timely way, to ensure that I can tell Canadians this is being well managed, and that there is no threat to our safety or our security. The Prime Minister also gave me some responsibility for dealing with some issues that many Canadians are concerned about, the issue of gun violence,
right.
Gangs in our community. And so I've been doing a great deal of work on that, and I've been working with cities and the provinces across Canada to address the issue of gun violence. There are a number of other complicated issues dealing with things like money laundering and organized crime, which are my responsibility. The fentanyl crisis, people who have been dying from the overdoses of synthetic drugs. There are a number of very difficult and important issues that the Prime Minister has asked me to address it is because of my experience, formerly as the police chief in Toronto. I have been working my whole life to keep people safe.
Almost 40 years.
Yes.
You worked there.
And to protect Canadians, to keep them safe, to make sure that our children are safe. And so the Prime Minister came to me with a number of files that Canadians were concerned with and said, work hard for Canadians in this way. But he reminds me that I have a responsibility to my constituents,
right.
to the people of Scarborough Southwest, the people who elected me to represent and to serve them. And so the work that I am doing in my ministerial role is for all Canadians, but it is also for the people of this community. And then I am also fortunate because I have a very good staff here in my constituency office who work hard to serve the people of Scarborough Southwest, the people that elected me and sent me to Ottawa.
Nice. So, how to combat the Toronto's, the recent spike in gun violence? You mentioned about that. Probably you saw the news on last civic holiday. We found that 17 people were shot in 14 different incidents. So, what are you thinking about that?
Well, I've experienced in my 10 years as the police chief increases in violence in the past. I believe very strongly that it is the responsibility of the police and of government, not just to investigate and solve crime, but to prevent crime. And so I will tell you that after the long holiday weekend, when so many people were injured, I was talking to the people of Toronto and the people of my riding, and they were becoming very fearful about the increase in gun violence. So I reached out to the chief of police, and I called him in because I have a lot of experience in dealing with this, and I talked to him about what should be done to prevent the shootings. And I asked him, what do you need? And he told me some of the things that he'd hoped to do. We talked about some things that I believe will work. And then I called the mayor, I called John Tory, and I said, John, we need to do more, we need to do better. and I've spoken to the chief, and I need to know, what does the City of Toronto need? And so John and I talked over a number of days last week, and over the weekend just passed.
Yeah.
And I went back to the Prime Minister, and I said, the City of Toronto needs our help. And so we made a commitment of money, and it was announced on Monday by the Prime Minister and Mayor Tory that we are now committing, in total between the city, the province, and our government, $4.5 million to improve public safety. Some of the money is for the police to do a better job of being present in communities and protecting communities. We're also making investments in communities to help reduce the circumstance under which that violence takes place. You know, that's in addition to some of the things that we have been doing as a government. We didn't just start on the weekend. We invested almost $350 million in reducing gun and gang violence right across the country. We've spent, in my area of border security, almost $90 million in new border agents and the police to stop the flow of guns coming in from the United States. And perhaps most importantly, we've been making investments in housing, in mental health services, in community services, and in creating opportunities for young people so that they make better choices, so that they don't get involved in gangs. But those things take time to have a positive effect in our community. So we will do short-term, working with the police to reduce the incidence of gun violence, and longer-term to invest in communities, to change the circumstances, to help young people make better choices, and thereby keep our community safe.
So I heard that you have been asked to study on the handgun ban.
Yes.
So what are the findings you've got so far?
Yeah, you know, I've been dealing with handguns, and
Yeah.
part of the problem in a big city like Toronto is criminals use handguns because they can conceal them. And so handguns in the wrong hands. If a handgun gets in the hands of a criminal, a gang member or somebody who's been on violence, it's a very, very dangerous weapon. And so I've looked at all of the ways to keep those guns out of the heads of criminals.
Okay.
And to do that, you have to look at how do they get them in the first place. Many of them are smuggled across the border. So we've now spent $90 million.
Yeah.
Some of them are stolen. The way in which you can prevent a gun from being stolen is to secure it, store it more securely.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at bringing in new regulations so on how guns are stored so that we make them harder to steal. Also been working with the city and had many conversations with Mayor Tory about additional things we can do right here in Toronto to deal with the availability of guns in Toronto. So securing the border, making them harder for criminals to access through either stealing them or through having somebody purchase them legally and then sell them illegally. All of those things are measures we're bringing forward. And I will also tell you that there are some weapons that were designed for soldiers to use in the military and to fight wars. They have no place in a civil society. And we know that those are the weapons that people who engage in mass killings, who go into the mosque or into a synagogue or go into an elementary school to kill children, the weapons they use are military assault style weapons. I believe there's no place for those in society. And so I've also been studying how we can eliminate those from our society. Now, in order to do all of those things, we need to pass new laws. Yeah. And so when I went back to the Prime Minister and said, here are the things we need to do, we had just passed Bill C-71, which is a very good piece of legislation.
Right.
It requires more extensive background checks before anyone can buy a firearm. It improved the security of firearms in transport. They were good common sense public safety measures. And we had just passed that legislation. But to bring in the new measures that I have just spoken of, we really need to introduce new laws and to make new programs and put new programs in place. And so the Prime Minister has said, we will do that in the next mandate. We will go to the people and say, this is what we want to do, and this is the right thing to do. And I believe the people will say, yes, we support that. And then give us the opportunity to bring in new legislation to be effective in keeping guns out of our community. There's no place for crime guns in our community. And we have to do everything possible to make sure criminals do not get the guns. We also have to make sure everything possible to make sure young people don't choose to get involved in gangs, and to improve the quality of life and social justice in our communities. So we're working on all of those things. I would also remind every Canadian and Torontonian, there is no one simple solution. Everybody is looking for that easy solution. And I have been doing this work my whole life. I know there are things that work, and we are prepared to do those things. we need to be thoughtful and we need to be careful, but we need to act. And we are prepared to act. You know, and I will also tell you, without getting too political, too partisan, when a political party, as one of them has said, is that they want to weaken gun laws. They want to make it possible for people to get easier access to guns. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong thing to do. You know, those people, the politicians who say that, are working more for the gun industry than they are for the public. I think there is no greater responsibility for any government than the protection of their citizens. And our communities must be safe. I've spent my whole life trying to keep them safe. One of the reasons I went to Ottawa was, one of the reasons, of course, is to serve this community, but also to do more to keep this community safe.
Of course.
Because I think that's a great responsibility and something I have a great deal of experience in. And the Prime Minister has given me an opportunity to bring forward initiatives that will help keep us safe. And I'm very honored to have that opportunity.
Yeah. So do you think that this handgun ban will be an issue for this upcoming election?
I think what we need to be able to do is present evidence to Canadians of what will work. And, you know, I sometimes think about, you know, we could say they're banned, but my concern is criminals don't pay attention to such bans, and if they can't get them locally, they will smuggle them across the border. And so you have to do everything necessary to keep those guns out of the hands of people. Also, just a blanket ban, in the absence of anything else, is very expensive. It would cost billions of dollars. And I would like to invest those billions of dollars, instead of just buying a bunch of guns to be destroyed, I would like to invest in communities. I would like to invest
motivate
in kids.
them
Invest,
for good
invest
cause.
in our kids so that they have jobs.
Build up
job
the
opportunities.
awareness too.
I would rather live in a safe and successful, prosperous society, because that will be more effective, in my opinion, than just banning guns. But having said that, I think there are measures that we must take to make it more difficult for criminals to get access to guns. At the border, securing the weapons, and making sure people are not breaking the laws. Like, all of those things are very important, but I also think it's important to invest in our communities and to create better opportunity. You know, there's a reason young people join gangs. And because they don't feel that society is just for them, and they don't feel that they have an opportunity for a better life if they make better choices. We have a responsibility to them and to our communities to create those jobs, to create those opportunities, to create a sense of, and a feeling of real justice. You know, I honestly believe that the diversity of our country is its greatest strength. But we know that not everybody in every community has an equal access to opportunity and to prosperity. We need to work on that. We need to make sure. It's one of the reasons, one of the most important things we have done as a government, we introduced the Canada Child Benefit. We made sure that families in need raising children had more money, because we know that their families will invest in better opportunities for their children. You know, a warmer coat, you know, better shoes, better meals, better after-school programs, all the things that improve the quality of that child's life. And if we do that work, that child will grow up to be a more responsible adult and make better choices for themselves. That's why it's more than, some people just want to say, lock up all the bad guys and throw away the key. I'd like to do the work that is necessary to make sure that there's less people that decide to be bad guys. And that's what makes us a safer and more livable society.
All right. Yeah. Honourable Minister, we have seen that the significant people, they are crossing United States into Canada. Do you think that this irregular immigration can create crisis for Canada?
Not a crisis, but it is a situation that needs to be managed. There is no risk to public safety, none, because everyone who crosses the border, regardless of where they cross, is detained by the RCMP and checked to make sure that they are not a danger to Canadian society. But when the Prime Minister asked me to deal with this, we saw in 2017, as a direct result of some things that were going on in America, the President would make certain announcements and certain enforcement initiatives, and people would flee America and come to Canada. And so we knew that we had to do two things. First of all, there was a lot more people now coming, seeking asylum, and as well, they were crossing irregularly. So we took some very aggressive steps to reduce the number of people crossing the border irregularly. And we've managed to cut that nearly in half. So there's far fewer people crossing our borders irregularly, because there's a right way to enter Canada. If you wish to emigrate, there's a right way to apply for immigration. If you are in need of our protection, there's a right way to make application for that. And so we're discouraging people. We've changed some rules. We did a lot of community outreach, a lot of public education, and we've reduced the number of people that are crossing our borders irregularly by nearly half. But at the same time, it's really important that our system be fair. And to be fair, it has to be faster, it has to be more efficient. And what we found is that we didn't have enough people to do the hearings at the Immigration and Refugee Board. And so we doubled their capacity so that we can get a timely determination. If someone needs our protection, they should get it, and they should get it quickly. And if someone does not need our protection, then that should be determined. And if they're not in need of protection, then they should be removed. That's not the right way to come to Canada. Canadians asked us to make sure the system was fair. And that's what the Prime Minister said to me. Bill, make sure the system is fair for all Canadians. We are a compassionate people. If people need our protection, we will protect them. But we also want to make sure that our rules are upheld and that the system runs efficiently. And so he asked me to manage it better. And we have made some very, very real progress. You know, we've cut by half the number of people that were coming irregularly, and we've doubled the number of hearings that we can conduct in a year. We've done that in a very short period of time. And we worked really hard on it, because that's what Canadians wanted us to do. Canadians are very compassionate people. You know, we saw that, we've seen this for generations, where we have opened our doors for people who need our protection. And even a few years ago when the Syrian people came, it's something that I think all Canadians are proud of. We are a people that take in those who need our help and need our protection. But we also want to make sure the rules are followed and that our safety is always maintained. And so the Prime Minister, because again, I've spent many years in public safety, asked me to manage that for him, and we've worked really hard on it. You know, we still have work to do. Let me also acknowledge to all Canadians, there is still an issue that needs to be managed, but it is not a crisis, because we are managing it within our resources. You know, and some people, I will tell you, some people have complained to me. So, well, you know, when these people come, we give them access to medical services, or we put a roof over their head. You know what's important to remember? Almost 40% of the people that have come across our borders to seek asylum are children. They're just little children. Canadians don't want little children put out on the street. And if a child gets sick, we want to make sure that they can see a doctor. That's part of a Canadian compassionate society. I believe in that compassion. And I think we need to defend that. That's who we are as a people. You know, we want our rules obeyed. We want to be careful of who comes to the country, because we don't want anybody to appear at risk. But we are a good-hearted people. A people who, and look at the contribution that immigrants and refugees have made to Canada. Canada is the greatest country in the world because of our diversity. Because people have come from all over the world to make a new life in a prosperous, in a fair, and a just Canada. And so those who wish to close our doors, I disagree. It is what has made the country great. We will uphold the rules. We will make sure that safety and security is maintained, but this is not a crisis.
Thank you for your service. And I know, Mr. Minister, you are very busy nowadays because of your campaign. So how your campaign is going on right now?
Not bad. You know, I confess to you, I've been a public servant my whole life. I'm a relatively new politician. And every 4 years you have to go and ask the people to vote for you, to serve you. Otherwise you can't continue to serve. But I was very fortunate. In 2015, when I came to Scarborough Southwest, I had some friends in the community, and I reached out. And you know, because we are talking to the Canadian Bangladeshi News, I reached out to the Bangladeshi community, and I can't tell you how proud I am of the support that I received from my friends in the Bangladeshi community. At my nomination, most of the people that came and voted for me for my nomination were from the Bangladeshi community. And many of my volunteers and many of my closest friends in the community are from the Bangladeshi community. And you know, they came to me and they said, we want service here. We need your help in the federal government. And we talked about this earlier. I remember during that election, I made a commitment that when I set up a constituency office to serve this community, that people in my office would speak Bengali. They would know the faith and the culture and the traditions of this community. And the very first person I hired was a Bengali person, and Naheed Sharif. The second person was Sarwar Chowdhury. And we've always maintained that openness and support. And I'm hoping I will go and ask again. When the writ is dropped in the election, I will come back and ask for the community's support. But I'm very grateful for the support that I have received and the friendships that I have enjoyed. And I make a commitment to continue to do my best to support that community. And you know, I was very proud when I was named minister last year. I went to, there was a community celebration in my honor for being named. And my Bengali friend said, "You are the first Bengali minister in the Canadian government because you represent a Bengali community." I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, because we saw that you're very well engaged with our community. So especially in different festivals, programs.
I am, but you know, I also have to make explanation to you and to your listeners. Because of the responsibilities that I have taken on for the whole country, sometimes it takes me away from my community. And just for example, during the last Eid celebration, you know, there was a great celebration in Antonia Park and the whole community comes together. I have always loved going to that event and being with my friends and joining the celebration, and I could not be there this time. And so it is one of the prices we pay when we take on responsibilities for the whole country. Sometimes it takes us away from our friends, but they're still in my heart. And my office is still there to support them. And so I'm very hopeful that they will understand my absence.
Great, thank you. And do you have any message to our Bangladeshi community, especially your voters in this writing?
I suppose I should make some political statement. First of all, I am very honored and grateful for the opportunity that I was given in 2015 to serve this community. I've done my best, and you know, we've had the opportunity working together to make a real difference in Scarborough Southwest. You know, we've significantly increased the amount of money for summer employment for our kids and jobs. The money we have brought here for housing, the money in the Canada Child Benefit. You know, we've made a lot of significant progress, and I'm very proud of the work we've done. But there's more to do. We have more to do, and so I would ask my friends in the Bengali community to give us an opportunity to continue to serve. And not just for myself, because the Bengali community is not just in Scarborough Southwest, but for my very good friend and very honored and trusted colleague, Nathaniel Erskine-Smith and Salma Zaid. You know, these are also people that represent significant Bengali populations. And you know, the fourth largest Bengali population of any riding in Canada is in Papineau, where Justin Trudeau is the member of Parliament. And so between the four of us, we are the Bengali MPs, and very proud to be so. And so I would very sincerely ask for an opportunity to continue to serve this community, and I undertake to all of you to do my very best to serve all of you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, and wish you all the best from our CBN, Canadian Bangladeshi News, and from our audience who are watching our videos, and also the Bangladeshi community who are living all over in Canada as well. So, and thank you very much again for giving your valuable time.
Of course.
Wish you all the best. Good luck for your election.
And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak to the community through CBN. It's important that we be able to reach out, and you have given me the privilege of that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dear viewers, thank you very much for watching our interview. And in the next video, we'll have another guest. I don't know who will be, but there will be another guest for you. Still, till then, stay well, and please stay connected with CBN, the Canadian Bangladeshi News. Goodbye, have a nice day.